Hello, and welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Manika.
And I'm Andrea, and welcome to episode 10 of season 2 of Strange New World Hegemony, however you pronounce that one. And this episode is about the USS Enterprise. They're investigating an attack on a colony on the edge or just outside of Federation space. And Captain Pike and his crew are facing an enemy that they have not seen since season 1, the Gorn. Now, this is the season finale of this season, and I feel like it was a part 1. Not a part 2. So let's get into our initial reactions. Monica, what did you think?
Well, I should preface this by saying this is classic Star Trek, but with much better Gorn. I like the slow motion anti-gravity scene with the Gorn hacker. I'm just going to call him that, the adult Gorn hacker. So technically it carries the right notes for me because it has an away mission. There's like two romantic scenes. There's definitely action. There's suspense, and there's multiple plot points. However, because it ends with a cliffhanger, I don't have the closure that I love. So it doesn't give me a strong thumbs up because I need that in my life, closure. I can't wait until next year to figure out what's going on next, especially with the writer's strike and everything else. But it's a classic Star Trek. What do you think?
So this was both predictable and a letdown in the sense of there are certain people whose names I don't remember from like the original series or I don't remember from like classic Star Trek. And it's just like, I wonder why that is, because all these people just went on this mission and we never heard from them again. So it reminded me of, honestly, the Gorn episode from season 1. We had people who normally don't go on away missions, like, I'm going with you, sir, not coming back with me, sir. So it made me really think, okay, whoever's not with Pike when he makes it back to the USS Enterprise, like I knew this going in. Whoever's not with Pike when he goes back to the USS Enterprise is like up for smoke. Granted, I could be completely wrong and all these people survive and I'm just like, whatever. But it just sort of seems like it's one of those, be with Pike and you're safe. Not with Pike, your fate is in other people's hands. It was that type of setup. So like going in, because of the way season 1 happened, I was just like, yeah, all these people aren't making it back to the Enterprise at the end of this episode. It's just not happening. I don't know what's going to happen, but they're not going to make it back there. And then 2, this really didn't seem like enough of a hinge to leave a season arc on, because people are kidnapped by enemies all the time. And I felt like this should have been like part 1, or someone should be gravely injured. Someone should have been like shot and then it ended, because, and I know we have that with Captain Batel, but like I'm not invested in her life. So like there are some characters who are down there and I'm just like, you don't mean anything to me after Strange New Worlds ends. Like I love you, but like you don't really mean too much to me. So if you're not with Pike,
I've just grown to really like him.
well, we know he survives, but I'm not. I mean, I also, again, I always admit I have not fully watched the original series, so I could definitely be missing something. But like Ortega's and La'an, I never really heard of their names before before Strange New World, right. And so, are we losing you because you weren't with Captain Kirk? Well, you're not the pilot at that point, so not everyone's leaving here. That was my caveat. I did like, though, we did meet Scotty. So let's go ahead and do our deeper dive, because when I heard that brogue, I was like, oh, beam me up, Scotty. Let's do this.
I see what you did there.
Yes. So the opening, they're on this colony that sort of set themselves up like an ancient old Western small town in middle America. Whatever, but why? You didn't live there. That's why you're doing that. We see that Nurse Chapel is like catching a ride to her, like to where she's supposed to be, but she's making a stop to help them inoculate all these people in this colony. And granted, they're not, it's sort of like they're in a weird spot. They're near Federation space, but they're not technically in Federation space. So they are like putting a target on their back by accepting help. We see that Patel and Pike have their little messages and their little like, next time schedule this call. I will. Like, and then, chaos happens. But what did you think of that opening scene of like small town middle America in space?
I kept thinking, why? Of all the time periods and all of the civilizations in the universe to choose, why this one? There's other cultures, there's other planets. Why emulate this one? Maybe it connects to the watching audience in America, but maybe not so much internationally. So I just think that if they're world building, why not use, and I should say actually, universe building. If they're doing this, go other places. Like it can look completely different. It's okay. We've already gone to Toronto. We've already done like these other scenes. Let's go beyond, like let's stretch the imagination somewhere. So I was disappointed there, but that is like the way Star Trek kind of is. They go back to American culture, lots of references, but it's a disappointment for me.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. So she's like, oh, middle America. Like, no shade to middle America, but at the same time, it just makes me think either they didn't have the budget or they didn't have the imagination to do something a little bit more grand, because there's so many other middle of the country type worlds they could have done from different cultures, and it did not have to be based on small town USA, especially in space. Because are you literally off the planet? I don't know, because nothing looks different. And we know that there's only 5,000 people in this little colony. It's a huge planet, so they're planning on growing. And we also see that after they are invaded, after the little shuttle crashes and they are invaded and they're trying to communicate, and the Enterprise gets the emergency communication, and they get there and they see that the ship is basically destroyed. Super honest, that probably would have been a better ending for a season finale than the ending we got. Because if we show up to the planet and we just know that the ship is exploded after we've seen, like, I would have preferred the opening scene should have been like the closing scene, and like the Enterprise should have been like trying to get to them, and maybe there should have been like a Patel and Nurse Chapel episode of fighting the Gorn and trying to figure out to stop them from invading the town. I would have loved to see the fight on the planet. I would have loved to see, there's bloodstains everywhere. Like, I would have loved to see all of that. And then the way the opening scene ended with the Enterprise arriving and seeing the ship exploded and like burnt to like broken up and not having any type of contact, and then getting that thing like, this is a demarcation line, you can't cross. That would have been a great ending for me.
That was dramatic. That was like a War of the Worlds. And if that's the scene you're referencing that they should end with, like that kind of either impact or the battle on the planet, that's I could see that for sure.
Because sorry, go ahead, keep going.
So there's that, and then I just want to mention also this part about Pike, because Pike is showing that he cares more about Patel, and he expressed that I love you. And so he's being more open with his feelings, especially after the last musical episode. And so I think because their communication was interrupted at that moment, like he felt like even more of a vested interest to go after his love.
Yeah.
And once a Boy Scout, always a Boy Scout.
Yes.
You want to say her.
Yes, because to go back to what you said, I feel like the ending of this episode, and going back to what I said as well, I feel like the ending of this episode would have been a perfect episode 1 ending.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see the fight on the planet. I wanted to see Patel try to rally the people. I wanted to see Patel get infected. Spoiler alert for later in this episode. I wanted to see all of that. And this was more of a reconnaissance season finale than an action-packed season finale. Like, there was some action, but there was more reconnaissance than there was anything.
I think they broke the rule and it was not really reconnaissance.
No, meaning as in, like, there wasn't any battles, there wasn't any fighting back and forth, there wasn't, like, they had, like, a couple fights with the Gorn.
Right.
It seemed like Spock had more action fighting the Gorn on the ship than they did on the actual planet. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it just seems like episode was out of order.
That's a good point. I would have liked to also seen more of Scotty, like how he was able to hide in plain sight.
Yes.
So he's resourceful. He's, as someone stated, he's also like mysterious. But let's find out more, because he's not, as we learned, as book smart. He didn't do as well in the academy, but he's very smart, ingenious actually, and was able to create inventions just on the spot.
Enterprise is going to Enterprise. They're going to break the rules. They're going to go and like try and get down to the planet. But when they're making that decision of what to do, and like Pike brings out the secret Gorn fighting stuff and scanners, but why aren't all the scanners just upgraded to be able to detect the Gorn? Because if your normal scanners can't detect the Gorn, what good are they? What good are stuff that you can't use in a box? Why are you only using scanners when you think there's no danger? You should have those scanners always. Even if it's like one of those Apple updates where it's just like, look, I'm updating your phone automatically, but like we're updating your scanner automatically to be able to detect the Gorn and not tell everyone. But like they need to know. Why only use that equipment in emergencies? Why not make sure that people can be prepared ahead of time for the emergency? Why? Like, I understand the phasers not being out and about, but like scanners, you couldn't upgrade the scanners for everyone, at least in medical or in the transport. Someone beams in. Oh, no. You got Gorn in you. I didn't understand, especially if you feel like fights are coming and we've seen other people have been attacked. Why is this not like a hidden firewall thing within their world right now?
These 2 seasons, they've been talking about the Gorn gradually as like becoming a bigger and bigger threat. So also, why not simulate some fights on the holodeck? Like, train your crew to be prepared for your biggest threat that Admiral April has been talking about for like 3 light years. They've been talking about this for a long time. I've been waiting for the last 10 episodes for this Gorn fight, and it's in the finale. But train your crew, start to use all the equipment, and also, what if Pike was not available for that biometric scan? Your lieutenant, your bridge crew should know how to access that.
So having the scanner, like, again, even if no one else knew where their weapons were, if you gave them all upgraded scanners, even if it was a secret upgrade, it only came into effect when the person came near like it detected a Gorn. Then it's like, hey, say this and receive the weapons you need to fight them. Like, or like your weapons are located here. Like, why is there not a fail-safe? Because you're right. If Pike was not on the ship, no one would know what was there. Did number 1 know? Because she seemed just as surprised. I thought, like, she looked just as surprised when she saw the chest open. So it's like, there should be a failsafe somewhere else on the ship that if Pike wasn't there and you think the Gorn is there, like, the scanners should have been upgraded secretly to like detect all Gorn. Or like, oh, hey guys, we're getting a new time to trade them out. We're getting new equipment. You don't even have to tell them it detects it. Just let it pop up. Oh crap, there's a Gorn in the facility. Run. Not the, oh, what's happening? Oh, we gotta find this special equipment and then we can run scans. No.
Yeah. The more I think about that, the more I think, the writers really missed the boat. Because the very first episode of the season, when Pike left, right? Pike went on vacation, shore leave, and so Spock was in charge. So Spock wouldn't have had access to any of that. And then also, you never know when your captain's going to get injured. Another thing, I'm just branching off from your point, is that Captain Patel and her bridge crew, as well as Scotty's crew, the starship that he was on, like, everyone that's in that sector should have the same equipment to fight the Gorn. Patel's team should have had
Because if Starfleet was out of Federation space, that should, and the Gorn are getting closer and closer. Why do you not have safeguards, that alarms that will go off immediately? So in this half, we're going to talk about some of the other things that were sort of like discussed in this season finale that just seems very weird. Pike informs the Admiral that Patel's ship has been like attacked and she's on a planet and they can't get to her. The Admiral is very hesitant to try and save his own people. And he makes a point of saying, well, she's out of Federation space. They didn't attack us. They still attacked a Federation ship and their crew. So there's no retaliation for that. So basically, you're like, the way the Admiral tried to like wave this event away, he's setting a precedent that if you're outside of Federation space, the Federation won't help you. Not that they can't help you, they won't help you. And it's just like, make it make sense. And also, he's trying to bring down the level of the dangerousness that is the Gorn. The Gorn has shown at every step so far, they will kill you. They do not negotiate. They do not stop at things. They will kill you, monsters. But to everyone else who they've eaten, who they've infected, who they've killed, who they've murdered, they are monsters. And here's a monsters a relative term, or monsters are just monsters, or sometimes monsters are just monsters. What the Admiral was giving me very much, I work for the Gorn vibes, and I'm trying to like find a way for us to negotiate with them. No, save your people. Stop. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Shame on Admiral, first of all.
Yes.
So the Gorn attacked 2 ships because they also attacked Scotty's ship.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you got 2 sets of crew that's down in distress, and that's not a big threat. I'm wondering if the Admiral is still holding a grudge after the court case, in which he was embarrassed and put in his place. And I hope he's not holding a personal grudge. He was taking it personal. I'm hoping he left that aside, because also it's about the bigger mission, but there's a reason why they set up this separate crate with all the Gorn defenses. So why not use it? He knew that this day would come. Why not send also in additional Starfleet ships to help them?
Legitimately, I promise you, if Pike had told James T. Kirk, look, your brother's on the planet with Gorn, like he's going down, James T. Kirk would have been like, bet, run our crew up there. We're going to be there on the sidelines. Like, make it make sense. How did no other Starfleet ship come and like hang out and be like, oh, there's multiple Gorn ships on this demarcation line. Let's have a couple Starfleet ships on this demarcation line as well. We've been seeing a lot of James this season. We're not going to see him now. And I get we're probably going to see him the next episode when he's going to find out that his brother was taken by the Gorn line. Because what happens if the Gorn decides to go across the demarcation line and no one's there except the Enterprise, and they're like blown out of the sky?
Yeah.
What makes you think that the Gorn aren't going to try that? Like, why are we believing they're going to hold to the rule? Like, they already have a device that's blocking transmissions even over the demarcation line. So basically what they're doing on that side is affecting this side. They're already sort of breaking the rules ish.
Right. This is another reason why it would have been smart for the writers to show us the scene of the initial landing of the Gorn and the fight. Yes. Because I have a feeling that Patel also sent a distress call to Starfleet, not just to the Enterprise. Mm-hmm. So then, did she get rejected from the Admiral when she sent out her distress call? Did they not respond? Like, I can't believe that she wouldn't have asked for more help.
It's definitely giving you guys are taking one for the team unknowingly. And I don't like that, because Starfleet should be there to help, always help the people. Granted, you don't always start a war, but you protect them. Look, we didn't start this fight, but you attacked our people. Yes, they were out of Federation space, but they weren't attacking anyone else. They were giving aid to a planet, and you attack them. I have the right to save them. even if you run the risk of like, okay, we can't take any of the colonists, which sucks, which is something like scary, but you're still holding our people hostage who were there, not for infiltration, for anything else other than to give. And I felt like they just hung him out to dry as a gift to the Gorn.
Admiral April. Uhura and Pelia comes up with a crazy theory, a simulation of like space garbage for Spock to cruise over to the USS Shoiga, basically the ship that Nurse Chapel was on.
Yes, and that one. So what I will say, using the ship like dressing up the shuttle like driftwood or like trash and letting that slide out and letting that fall to the planet that way, that was very smart. Using the already broken up ship as a way to destroy the beacon, also very smart. The dumb part was not just immediately beaming everyone out the moment the beacon went down. Because I would have everyone in the transporter room. All right, we have a big load of people coming. The moment the beacon hit, you don't bring Pike on. Okay, now and then you don't wait till he gets to the bridge and say, let's get a lock on people. No. Right. Because Spock, you got out of your suit. Now, if you had ran immediately to the bridge, that would have been different. But you got out of your suit. Why did Pike need to be on the bridge for him from saying, okay, round everyone up? Your scanners could have worked. Your scanners could have locked on to La'an and Dr. Mbenga and Kirk down there. Why did you wait? What was the reason? In the words of Cardi B, what was the reason? And even then, when they got beamed out, I knew they weren't beamed out by Starfleet because the beam light had a light green hue to it. And Starfleet's was always light yellow or gold.
In that scene, I was wondering, how did they know to line up together? Who communicated this to them so that they were all like standing except for the person that was just had surgery sitting down? But everyone else was like, because before they were all sleeping and like
make it make sense. This episode had the potential to be amazing, and it just floundered. It seemed like this was a rush cut to be put together. I wanted it to make sense. And it's just not. And then also, why is Chapel the only person on the ship still alive? And I'm not upset she's alive.
But we don't know.
Why is she the only one?
Well, we don't know. They're just assuming that they even assumed that Chapel was dead. Right? When Spock put that rocket on there, this whole grand idea was the assumption that nobody was alive.
Yeah. No other episode did not make sense as much as this episode did.
Yeah, this is tough for me because even though, this Strange New Worlds focusing on the Enterprise does not include a season arc, it builds, but they didn't wrap it up. And like they added even more holes to it, but it seems as though there's that's the case with a lot of Star. Because we don't know if also Scotty has Gorn. Like, we don't know. Like, all of a sudden, like, they're released to the rest of the population on the Enterprise, but you just don't know. And I will see also what happens with Patel and how she's able to survive. I think they should have put up a double, triple force field around her, sent her to the brig, some place where if the Gorn eggs, if the baby Gorn comes out, there's definitely protection from the rest of the crew.
Yeah, this episode, I think it was just bad. I feel like they truly did not need the Enterprise this episode. I felt like this could have been an episode of the Enterprise trying to get there, of the fight on the planet, or it could have been like half the crew was with Patel providing aid or something, and now the Enterprise is trying to get there. I think it should have ended with the opening scene of, oh my God, the ship's exploded and we can't contact our people. The Gorn's attacked. I feel like because episode 1 ended with, we're going to need them for the Gorn attack. It was another war coming. And I think ending it with the Gorn finally made their first move. I think that would have been such a much better cliffhanger than the one that we got of just cut and paste, sloppy storytelling ending. Because This season has been great. There have of course been episodes that I did not like, which I've talked about them. You and I, me and Monica had our very rare moments of episodes we agreed on. But I just felt like this episode, the ending that we got was so much more of an afterthought. That we shouldn't have had this in their second season. This season deserves such a better ending. And Pike, for once, is frozen by fear, and it's just like, why? Fire everything at the Gorn. Get your people back.
So this is funny. When there were these camera angles, Pike frozen, I was thinking it could break out in song. I was waiting, and maybe it's because the last episode had a song. And that's the tough thing about having so many episodes that were written differently, designed and executed differently. Is like I didn't know where that kind of like that ended in this, because I'm not used to seeing Pike frozen. So I was waiting for like a breakout of some sort. I was like, what? This is not the Pike I know. So it's tough to see him in this situation. I'm sure he'll snap out of it. He has to, or James Seekirk will arrive in a rescue, or someone else. But he needs to, because the Gorn is much smarter than they think.
Yes.
And they're adapting. The baby Gorn are no longer fighting each other to the death for the strongest to survive. They're working together as a collective. Hey, the Gorn's hacking. They have strategy. They
have spacesuits. I mean, they have spaceships, but this is the first time I ever saw them in a spacesuit.
So
they are monsters. They are not misunderstood.
They know how to take out Federation communications, and a whole lot of other strategy. So you need to step up. And everyone's looking for him for direction. And it looks like he's just
any other final thoughts from you?
Yes. Erica Ortega, she saved the day. She had some slight humor throughout that kept me going in this episode. And she definitely knew how to fly the ship, piloting the ship, and she was helpful on their away mission. She even came to terms with like, I wonder why I volunteered to like want to go, why I suggested going on away missions. Like her demeanor was lovely, and I liked seeing her in this. And I might just say that this was like the best set of scenes for me for her than even the Erica episode a few weeks ago. So that was good. And we'll see more of Scotty for sure, because he has all of this equipment. I guess we're going to use that to like hide in plain sight in the universe, in space.
And I definitely need to hear someone say, beam me up, Scotty. My final thoughts is I really wish this wasn't the last season. I really wish this wasn't the season finale. There were some good parts, very few and far between. Erica was a good part. She was. Scotty was a great part. I did love him. I love the way that they figured out how to save everyone. That was like true Star Trek ingenuity, figuring it out. Doing like with Spock going in, planting the rockets to secretly aim the space drunk to land where they wanted to. Those were all good parts. It's just, as a whole, the rest of the story sort of just like pulled it down a little bit too much for me. So I am looking forward to seeing we know how season 3 is going to start. I'm looking forward to seeing if it's going to start immediately after the end of this episode, or are there going to be weeks that have passed, months that have passed with them on the breeding ship, and like are we going to see a death, or people are going to die off screen? Like what's going to? And I want to see James Seekirk come for his brother. I want to see it. I need to see it to see this. He should have been in the season finale. Just saying. Anything else?
No.
Well, as always, I'm Andrea.
I'm Anika.
And live long
and prosper.